Hey guys, it's John, small town, small time bookseller here with a video. Yay! So I'm going to try it once again, get through one of these things, tell you about some things that I sold, mostly books. Actually, this particular group of sales here I'm going to go through has a lot of books on it, which is surprisingly fun to say. There's a lot of books. And so we're going to go through them all. But that's what I do. I buy things, mostly books and media, at places like the Goodwill bins and little thrift stores here and there and yon. Occasionally I find things just rolling around in the gutter. Things that my dog might bring me something every once in a while. Sometimes I'm just looking at a shelf and I go, I don't need that anymore, and I'll sell it. And so that's pretty much it. So I don't do any of the other videos. I don't do the garage sale videos. I don't do yard sale videos. I don't do the GoPros looking at my hands like you, my electric typewriter with your cord and hungry plug, drinking a sinister transfusion from the other side of the wall. What histories of slaughter have left these scars on your keys? Not that. No, we're just going to talk about the books that I have sold and whatever. Oh my gosh, let's try it. And I shouldn't have taped that there. There we go. Okay. We're keeping that in. It's been too long. We're a minute 36 in. I don't want to start over again. So we're going to go through the books, and then I got a little thing I'll show you afterwards that I picked up at Goodwill the other day. It's kind of interesting. So something that you see a lot. And I've never really thought about it much, but I picked it up this time, and we'll see. I don't know if it'll result in any sales or much value, but we'll talk about it at the end. So we got here is first half of October. I've really got to catch up. I thought about just doing a highlights just to catch myself up. But if I did just a highlights from the last 4 months, that really doesn't give a sense of what it takes to be a bookseller on eBay, because the highlights are fun, but for every 15 books you sell, you'll get one really good one maybe. And so to just point out those good ones, I thought would be kind of a disservice to those who are learning this and trying to see what is it like to make it as a bookseller. And I'm not making it as a bookseller. I very much do this part-time for fun. And so I spend a couple hours every weekend sourcing books. That's about it. Sometimes on my lunch break, I pop by the thrift store near my school, buy stuff there. But other than that, at night, I'll spend an hour or so listing, packing books, things like that. But I'm not doing this in any semblance of full time. So this just kind of lets you know what my what my time that I'm putting into it is. So, all right, this particular 15-day period, it looks like I've got about 27 sales. So 18 were books and 9 were not books. And that's a lot of not a books right there. So as always, I'm going to go through them not in chronological order, but in pecuniary order. So the least valuable to the most valuable. That way to build the suspense, Got to keep you in there till the end. Or you can skip through. If you watched it in reverse, it'd be far less dramatic. But you can just skip ahead if you wanted to. All right. So the first book. So kind of to recap again, I try not to sell anything for under $10. If I ever did this more full time and I was selling more things, I might change that. But if I ever do any sell for anything under $10, it's probably I listed it for 10. I got an offer. It's been sitting a while. I try not to. So my intent is if I pick up a book and I see if I'm going to list it for $7, I won't do that. I won't list a book for $7, $8. I'll list it for 10 and sometimes take an offer on it. But I'll try not to as much as I can. I'm usually paying 50 cents a book at the Goodwill bins. And at other places around, my thrift store, which is magically called Thrift Store, which is near my work, they have books right now. They're 5 for $2. So what is that, 40 cents a piece? Sometimes they're 3 for $2. It just kind of depends. So they're pretty cheap as well. And there's a few other Goodwills that I'll occasionally have to get something at, but not too often. All right. So first book we have, Living in Jesus, Growing in the Life We Were Made to Live. And that's sold for $7. So that's what I saw. The first one that reminded me of why I mentioned about I would have taken an offer on that. So that wasn't listed for 7. I would have listed it for 10 and took an offer at 7. The next one is the National Museum of the United States Air Force 2008 paperback book, sold for $10. And then we had the Manual para Pastores y Miembros de la Iglesia, Volume 2 by John Owens, sold for $10. I sell a lot of books in Spanish. This one is a religious book. It's a manual for priests and members of the church. But I also sell fiction in Spanish. I've sold a lot of books that often go to Puerto Rico, not always. Sometimes I've sent them to Mexico and different countries as well. But don't shy away from picking up books in Spanish and selling them on regular old eBay, because I have pretty good luck with that. All right, moving on. Journey to the West, Volume 2. This is by Wu Chang'en, Foreign Language Press, Beijing, 1995, sold for $12. And then my first Notta book, sold a record, Duran Duran, Rio. This is a 12-inch single, which sold for $12. So I've been picking up a lot more records. I actually picked up a whole bunch last time I was at the Goodwill bins, and need to go through those and see if there's anything. And I think they're all probably in the $10 to $12 range, but I'm getting them for 50 cents. So at the Goodwill bins, not only books, but all media are 2 for $1. So that's DVDs, CDs, records, things like that. So, and books are all 2 for $1. All right, moving on. We have Yoga for Scoliosis Back Pain Relief at Home for Beginners, $14.50. Is there anything that yoga can't cure? Next, we have the Handel Messiah, Hallelujah, vocal score based on the text of Halle Handel. Not sure what that last part meant. $14.50 for that. Had that for a long time. It's kind of cool. It was the vocal score, so like all of the parts written out. You can follow along with Messiah and see what the bass is doing, and the altos and the sopranos and everybody, and it was pretty cool. It was really fun to follow along the score. The next one was a Notta book, another record. This was from 1969, the Dark Shadows soundtrack. I've mentioned Dark Shadows before. Oh, this sold for $15. I've sold a lot of Dark Shadow books. Whenever I see them, and often you'll see them in a whole bunch of them together, and they're small paperback books, but you get a bunch of those and they'll sell quickly and for quite a bit of money. So look out for Dark Shadows books. I've sold Dark Shadows catalogs, and now I've sold a Dark Shadows record. So I gotta watch a show sometime. I really should. I've never seen it. It's like in the late 60s. I don't know if it went into the 70s or not, but for sure late 60s is when it was on. And I'll have to check it out, because I've made enough money off of it by now that I should give back a little bit, I suppose. The next one is another Notta book. This one I picked up at a regular old Goodwill. So I probably paid $2, $3, $4, something along those lines for it. And it was a box of Jackson Pollock, Museum of Modern Art in New York, cards and envelopes. 5 different designs. One of them was missing. So it was 5 designs. I don't remember how many. There was like 4 of each. So it had like 20 total, but there's only 19 in the box. But they're really cool. All different Jackson Pollock prints, on the front of the card with the envelopes in a nice box. And being from the Museum of Modern Art in New York, I thought that was kind of cool. And that did sell for $15, but I had it for a long time. All right, the next one, another religious book. The Day of the Lord is at Hand, 7th edition. Behold, he cometh with clouds. Sold for $15. So we could just put it on the loop. But religion sells, religion sells, religion sells. And not just Bibles, missals. There's commentaries, just anything you can find. You know, somebody does a deep dive into one of the books that'll sell, and characters in the book. So just so many things related around religion, not just Christianity, all religions. Most of what I sell and find around here is related to Christianity, but Buddhist texts, Jewish text, anything. I don't find a lot of other religions around here, but they would all, I'm sure, sell as well. So just religion in general, spirituality in general will sell. Next we have another religious book. The Book of Revelation by Clarence Larkin from 1919, illustrated hardcover. Oh, this was a reprint. This wasn't the one from 1919. It was a reprint of that book, and it sold for $15. So I bet that original one would be a fun one to find. If you ever see The Book of Revelation by Clarence Larkin from 1919, I bet you it's worth a lot of money, because this reprint sold for $15. All right, next we have The Principles of Metal Casting book from 1955 by the American Foundryman Society, and that sold for $18. A lot of, what would you call these, trade, like books on manual labor trades, such as, you know, this was metal casting, but also machinery, carpentry, piping, things like that from the 40s, 50s, often sell. I think a lot of it is the images inside. You know, the diagrams are really cool looking, and rather somebody probably doesn't need to know how they did metal casting in 1955, but it might be historical, might be interesting to know, but I'm guessing it's more the images in the book are what's interesting. So if you have a book like that, when you're listing it, front cover, back cover, title page, copyright page, and then some random pictures inside of it, has some really cool diagrams and things like that. Just make sure you put pictures of those in as well. The next one we have Walter Shandoa's book on kittens and cats. Look at it. So cute. $18 for the book on kittens and cats. I thought that would never sell, but it did. It took a while though. All right, moving on. Adolescent Psychotherapy Treatment Planner for 5th edition, $18.50. A lot of books related to teen, adolescent, children's emotional well-being. This is psychotherapy, trauma therapy, anything like that. Often it will sell. So those are good. That's a good genre as well. All right, we have another Not a Book, another Duran Duran album. Yay! This was sold for $19. This was Night Romantics, Japanese version with an insert. That was a pretty good one to find. That was a pretty good day at the Goodwill Bins when I found all the Duran Duran albums and the Upstairs at Eric's, and there was I can't remember who else, but there was a bunch of good stuff. A Depeche Mode, and yeah, that was fun. And this one too, I think I found this the same day. Maybe, no, this was a different day. But this is another album that sold. Johnny Cash with his Hot and Blue Guitar, 1957, Sun Records, sold for $20. And as I recall, it's back in October when I sold this, so the memory's a little fuzzy. I think that this one wasn't in that good a condition, and that if you have it in better shape, it sells for a lot more. That's a good Johnny Cash from 1957. All right, back to some books. This is a book of Wolfgang Tilman's, or is that Wolfgang Tilman's? Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, a book of his work, sold for $20. Somebody wanted that one for a long time. They just kept offering low amounts, and finally got them up to $20, and I accepted it. I don't remember what I had listed it for, but it was more than 20. Next, we have a 1987 Franklin Library version of Tales of Mystery and Imagination by Edgar Allan Poe. Nice leather-bound edition, sold for $20. Franklin Library is one that's a pretty good one. You can sell, they sell pretty well. They're nice looking, they're leather-bound, They're not like Easton Press, which will sell for a lot more, but Franklin Library is pretty good. The next one was 4 Spanish fiction books. I had just over time I'd find some vintage older Spanish books, and I didn't think they were really worth listing individually, so I just lotted them up as Spanish fiction, and I had the different titles in there, and the 4 of them sold for $25. Now, confessions of a bad eBay seller, when I went to ship them, I could only find 3. So I don't know where that other book went, but I could not find it. And so I ended up messaging the buyer, and I found all the other Spanish fiction books I had on the shelves and said, would you like one of these instead? And he said, sure. So he picked one of the other ones I had, and I shipped that one off instead. But it's frustrating when that happens. I know that I had those 4, and I kept them together on the shelf, but somewhere along the lines they got misplaced, and I don't know where. Never did find it. Then we have the next one. There's another Lotta book. This is something that was one of these. Somebody had a garage sale in the neighborhood, and then just said, hey, everything left is free. Come by. It's sitting in the driveway. If anybody wants anything, just pick it up. And so I went by, and they had a box of, these are this Medline Remedy Phytoplex Hydrating Cleansing Foam. There's 5 of them, actually 6. I gave one to my daughter, and then the other 5 I put them online, and they sold for $30. There's something else too that sold as well. So this sold in October. I just sold. There's 2 different things. There's this group of whatever this was, cleansing foam, and there's some other stuff that sold also, but those sold just like last week. So you'll hear about that in a couple of years, I suppose. All right, moving on. Another book, Raymond Carver Cathedral, first edition, sold for $30. I have on here, it says see pictures, so I must have some condition issues with the probably with the dust jacket. That's usually if I have some severe issues or something, you got to say see pictures. Then moving on, we have another book, Nomadic Furniture. This is 2 books, Nomadic Furniture 1 and 2. I put them together as a listing, sold for $32 for 1973 vintage woodworking books. So do that with that what you will. Vintage woodworking, is that a genre? It's the first time I've ever sold anything on vintage woodworking, but I suppose it could be. This is specifically Nomadic Furniture. So I don't know if that's something that I would necessarily look for again, but maybe I would probably look it up again if I did see it. Another album. This is the original 1987 LL Cool J album, Bad Def Jam, first pressing. Had hype sticker on it, $32. I've learned a lot about selling records since this month of October here. So this guy actually requested a refund, and he said that it was more scratched up than he anticipated, and it just wasn't a very good condition. And I kind of messaged back saying, sorry, man. I apologize. I'm learning how to grade records. I'm learning. At that time, I didn't even have a record player. I've since bought one. But I couldn't play it to see how it sounded. And so I said, would you like to do a partial refund and then just keep it as a display piece? And he wrote back and said, sure. He said he could do that. So I refunded, I think, half of it back. So what would that be, like $16? I refunded back, and he kept it. So I was fine with that. The next one is another Lotta book. It's a briefcase, a vintage Mexican, Aztec, Mayan, leather, hand-tooled briefcase. Found this thing at the Goodwill bins, and I was like, that's cool. It's had like the Mayan symbols all over it, leather. It was older. You could just tell it was just neat looking. And $35 I got for that. So I was pretty happy with that. I don't know what I would have paid for that, but whatever it would be at Goodwill bins, $1.79 a pound. So probably $3 or $4 I would have paid for that one. Next, we have OCD, a workbook for clinicians, children, and teens. $37.50. So here's another book on this for children and teens. So working with clinicians on OCD with children. So you can see that even in this month, we've sold 2 books on therapy and treatment for different things for children and teens. And then we have another book from another religious book, the Apocrypha, translated from the Greek and Latin tongues in 1894 edition, signed by Clem Davies, sold for $45. I hope that I have this story right. I believe that's what happens when you wait so long to list books. It's terrible. But this was Clem Davies. I looked him up, and he was a pastor of a church in Hollywood, California. And so I put that in there just in case somebody knew the name. You know, I looked at, didn't see anything from Clem Davies other than historical account of that, you know, that's where the church was, that he was a minister of. So, don't know if the person who bought it won it because of that. Could that have swayed somebody? It could have, but I don't know if it did. And then the last one I sold was another not a book, and it was a DVD, 6 DVDs on the great courses, Biblical Hebrew. So you know those great courses, you see them all the time. Some of them are worth good money, some of them not so much. This one is $80 for the Biblical Hebrew, Learning a Sacred Language. And I got that one at a library sale. And this particular library sale has their DVDs for $0.25. And so I would have paid 25 cents for that, which sold for 80 big ones. So, you know, I hope you enjoyed that list there. So, I wanted just to kind of, you know, make sure I'm going to go ahead and continue it this way with, I'm telling you everything I sold. I don't want anyone to think that selling is all, you know, it's not all gold and biz quick out there. There's days and months where you don't sell a whole lot. January was my best month I've ever had. I was almost doubled my goal for each month. So hopefully that'll continue on into February. Oh, I had met my goal by like halfway through the month, and then they hit a downturn there's a couple of days I did not sell a single thing. Now it's starting to come back with a couple sales a day. But I had some really good sales in January. So things are going pretty good right now, but it's not always that way. So the high sale for this time period is $80. Now, October wasn't a very good month, but you know, it'll be hopefully pick up. So as always, the hat that I'm wearing today will be posted online. I actually have 2 of them, so I'll show you this one. It says Specialties Company. It's got a little dude running around there, chasing somebody, being chased, not sure, but I thought it's kind of cool. So if you want one of those, this one's a little scuffed up. I'll give you the good one. If you want one of those, it's whatever I listed at, it'll be $5 for a viewer, $5 plus shipping. So if you would like that, just say, give me an offer for $5, put in the message saying, saw this on your video, and then it's yours. So if you'd like it, it's kind of cool, I thought. Yeah. And the other thing I want to tell you about is, so something that I see a lot of when I'm out in the Goodwill bins is silverware. And I know that my buddy Drew, Tip of the Net Flips, he sells silverware. He'll pick it up and sell it a piece at a time or whatever. But I picked up this. So this is, I've got a whole set here, but just kind of showing you one. It says Reed and Barton on the back. So I looked up Reed and Barton. Reed and Barton is a silversmith. It does not say it's silver plated. It does not say it is 0.925. It's not pure silver. So what do you do from there? So a couple things I read about, checked how do you know if something is silver or not. Get a magnet. If it sticks to this, it's not silver. So it did not stick to this. Silver plate is often over copper, which I guess also is not magnetic. So it said it's either, you can tell it's sticking to the metal whether it's stainless steel. That page tells you that. So this is either silver plate or silver, which I wouldn't imagine it is. And it was highly tarnished also, which tells you that it could be real, that it's silver. And so I have a book that I kept. I wish I would have brought it with me. It's on silver makers. And I was actually able to look up Reed and Barton in the book, and it has all their designs. And I was able to find out that this design is called Kings. And so I was able to look up other people who are selling it. And people are selling this for, you know, sometimes $5 a piece. So I had quite a few. And so we polished them up so they looked terrible sitting in the bins, but we kept collecting them. I did have one spoon that did say sterling on it. So if it says sterling or 0.925, then you know it's real silver. And often things will say if they are plated, they'll say electroplate, or they'll say some other kind of plating. But none of these did. And so the only part that does is the blade on the knife. I don't know if you can see somewhere on there. It says Reed and Barton. Hold on a second. It says mirror steel, and so this is the silver plated part, and this is not. But anyhow, so 2 different sizes spoons, 2 different forks, and the knife. And I made a little set. So I put that out there, put over $50. And I've got 5 sets of these. And then what was left over were a handful of spoons. Like there's like 3 of the little spreader butter knives. I put it up there. So I don't know if it'll sell or not, but if it does, I'll let you know. But I think it's something that is definitely worth checking out. If you know anything more about how to tell if something is silver versus silver plated, let me know. I would like to know. Like I said, the only thing I could find out was using a magnet, and then if it doesn't have any indicators on it, of course, and then if it tarnishes, it's silver. So if we took some silver cleaner and we were able to polish these guys up really nicely, and I put them up for sale. As such, so the other ones that are listed online also did not. They all said silver plated, so I'm just kind of assuming. Now, this pattern first came out in like the 1880s. The book doesn't tell you how long it was produced. And so I don't know the age of these at all. I have no idea what the age could be. So if any of you know any other resources on looking up silver patterns to know when it could have been produced or something along those lines, I'd appreciate it. So I think, where'd my paper go? I think that's about it for today. Where does that leave us? I had a grand total of 18 books for $362.50, $20.14 average, a little bit below my preferred and completely made up an arbitrary figure of $25, which I consider to be a good period. But the 9 Lotta books at $258, you know what that came out to? Yeah, of course, $28.67, obviously. So that's pretty good. And yeah, so we'll catch you next time. We'll get into the end of October on my next video. And is there anything else I need to talk about? I don't think so. Gosh, we're already 28 minutes in. Hope you stayed around for the whole thing. Appreciate you if you did. And all of the new subscribers, I really appreciate you so much. All you old subscribers, I appreciate you so much. And we will catch you later. So hope you're selling the heck out of a bunch of stuff. Hope you see you sooner rather than later. Adios. Clicker, go.